All right, everyone. Welcome to Ricochet Community Call number 2. We've got a simple agenda today, so let's get to it. First off, we're going to discuss our bug. Mike's going to walk us through what happened over the last week and how we caught it and how we dealt with it. We're then going to discuss 2 easy ways you can use Ricochet dollar cost averaging to kind of amplify your personal DeFi strategy. Then just hit on some major points on our roadmap, and then over the course, just have some general discussion and open the floor to questions. So without further ado, Mike, let's just discuss what happened.
So the bug was a pretty kind of simple error, and it has to do with how we track everyone's stream rates. So previously we were storing everyone's stream rates in a mapping, and we were also storing the total stream rate in a variable in the contract, and that actually led to a bug where if a certain condition was triggered, specifically like the keeper closing a stream, and then another event was triggered, somebody subscribing, that actually caused the totals of value streaming to get out of whack. And the result of that is at a certain point, there's an overflow, and then the contract gets locked because you're unable to distribute any tokens until you have enough tokens to be the same size as the overflowed value, which would be a lot of tokens. It'd be more tokens than we could actually get. So, it has to do with tracking the rates in the contract. And the solution was to not track rates in contracts. And instead, every time we need to know a rate, we're just calling down the superfluid to get that rate. So we're never storing the total rate. We're never storing each individual streamer's rates. We're only storing the fact that people are streaming. And when they're streaming, we sort of check their rate using superfluid. It's unfortunate. We had a similar bug to this before, where we were when we were first testing these contracts. I think, the only victim of that. Maybe Sunny and Fran were as well. But it had to do with us tracking the output of SushiSwap rather than using checking the balance of the contract, and that caused a little Office Space style bug where funds would accumulate in the contract sort of as the dust or the change. And over time, that dust and change added up. So now what we're doing is, there's no more internal tracking of rates. It's just not necessary, because all we need to track is that you are streaming, and then we can check your rate from there. So that was the solution. The other part of the bug catching was, okay, well, obviously that bug caused funds to get locked in the contracts, and there isn't an easy path to get them out. I don't think there actually is a good path to get them out. So as a result, we had to figure out how much everyone is owed so we can reimburse them. And that itself has turned into kind of a problem. And I spent a lot of time on it using the events, the on-chain events. After a while, I determined that wasn't useful, or that was very difficult. Maybe I could have figured it out. But then we go to the superfluid subgraph, and there we actually, just yesterday, as we were going through and verifying these numbers again and again, we did find that there was a mistake in the subgraph query, or in the subgraph. I don't know exactly how subgraphs work actually, but there was a discrepancy between what we were seeing on the dashboards and what we were seeing on our queries. And Fran, I think, looked at it this morning and confirmed that there was a bug. So we'll triage that, and when we have it ready, once we can verify that we're exporting everyone's wallets with the amounts that they're going to see in the dashboards, and we can verify that because I have a couple wallets that were affected. Sunny has a wallet that was infected. We have another couple friends who have streamed that we can kind of check with. And so when that's ready, we'll publish the whole list. And then after that, we're going to use the governance. We'll use Snapshot to vote it so that everyone's okay with it. And then we're going to take the funds out of the treasury to reimburse people, because we have collected enough in fees that luckily the Ricochet DAO won't go under, right? It's not going to lose all its money. The Ricochet DAO will still have some funding in it. So yeah, I don't know, Sunny, is there anything else you think I should cover with bug catching?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you cover the reimbursements, but you got through that, so nothing.
Got the reimbursements. Yeah. Yeah, the other thing I would add, I don't know if this is a good time at any to say it, which is like, I initially when I said we were going to charge a 2% fee, I think the overwhelming consensus from people was that was like ridiculously high, right? Because everyone, I guess, is accustomed to like 0.3% fees or something, right? And I said, people say, oh, you should do that and get a lot of liquidity. And I said, no, one, because the only alternative to this is going to charge you at about a 2% fee. If you try to do decentralized on-chain dollar cost averaging for yourself or in any other solution, it's probably actually going to cost more than 2%. But if you go to Coinbase, it's about 2%. So, and then the other thing is I've done these DeFi projects before where people are sending money into my contracts, and I know that bugs happen, problems occur. And so we have to charge that fee so that when something does happen like this, we don't go bankrupt, right? The DAO treasury is not going to be drained reimbursing people. There's still going to be funding in there to continue forward, right? So it's important that, I understand the fee, people think it's high, and, in the future we may do other things and those might have high fees, but people have to understand that like, this is very early and experimental, and the fee has to be high to make this sustainable for me and for Sunny and for all the other people involved in working on this. So, yeah, even though there's a bug, you pay 2%. Luckily, it's not going to bankrupt the DAO. I think that's an important note. And yeah, we should in the future. There will be. I can't say one. What was really frustrating was one guy like hit me up and was just like right away like really intense about what was wrong and how our numbers were wrong. And there's nothing worse than like locking up other people's money. So obviously that killed all momentum that we had. And it's just depressing, right? It just sucks, right? You build something and it hurts people, right? It's sad. So obviously like all these people coming right away and just like stressing everything out. So I appreciate everyone that was like calm about it. And I appreciate everyone being patient. I really didn't think it would take this long. But obviously I've never queried anything like this before. And we're doing new things. So, so that's what I would say, other comments on bugs and, how they impact going forward. Same applies for hacks, hacks too. Luckily our contract's pretty low risk of a hack because at any given time, it never really has a lot in it. So, the real risk is that, we as developers release something and it doesn't work right. And yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Sonny. Got anything else?
Awesome, Mike. That was very well put. Yeah, we really appreciate the community's response to our bug, and we're glad that we've come really close to resolving it. So,
and on the I'm coming close to resolve it. We've resolved it. I resolved it. I've been testing for the last 2 days. Been testing the new markets, trying a combination of different things to make sure that they're going to be okay. And yeah, I think they're ready to go, or they are ready to go. They're on app.dot now. We did app.ricochet. You can find the USDC markets, and the old markets, the DAI markets, are available on legacy.ricochet. So the bug we're not totally done dealing with this because we still have to do the reimbursements, but from a product perspective, it's been resolved, and we have the updated contracts out there now. So you can go to app.ricochet. You could start streaming again with US dollar coin instead of DAI. You could still keep your DAI streams open. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong with that is it doesn't have the protection against you letting your stream run out. So there's no protection on the DAI markets. And honestly, I've looked at the DAI markets. There's not that many people streaming. So we don't even need to go there.
Awesome. Cool. So that's it for the bug. We're going to move on to talk about Ricochet DCA strategies. The first of which is one that I personally use. And if you follow me, you probably saw me tweet about it. Basically, the process looks like this. You start off, you dollar cost average your stables into wheat, the wrap Bitcoin, or another asset that obviously supports us to deposit using Ricochet Exchange. Every week, you take the tokens that you accumulated, the asset you accumulated through Ricochet Exchange, and you deposit it into Aave. And what happens then is like you're earning interest on that deposited asset. So that's a bonus. And then you can borrow against it. So what I do is I borrow a stable coin, I borrow DAI against it. I take that DAI, I'm borrowing at like a 1% interest rate. and then I am depositing it into Polycat Finance, or you could choose your own, yield aggregator of your choosing. And I'm earning like 14% interest on that DAI. So that's like a 11% spread. So it's kind of like, taking the assets that you're purchasing using Ricochet Exchange, and kind of amplifying your returns by turning around and just kind of borrowing and earning yield on those borrowings. So that's an easy kind of simple strategy that helps me sleep well at night. It really kind of keeps things simple, and I got in the world of DeFi, that stress is money. Being able to save on that, being able to save your time, and that kind of stress is very valuable.
Yeah, this is really good. I hope people are doing something similar to this with the Ethereum they're getting, like periodically downgrading it and using it. If you just let it sit there, you're losing out on some of the capital you could be accruing if you deposit it somewhere else in the system. So hopefully in the future, we're able to just have people stream directly to these systems, right? So stream directly to Aave WETH or Aave ETH on Polygon. Even streaming directly into Polycat is probably possible, because you can do a swap and then you can do a deposit and receive back. You can receive back their interest-bearing tokens. The only requirement is that these projects have to be distributing some kind of token to signify your deposit. If they don't do something like that, then there isn't really a way that we can directly stream into it. But yeah, this is great. I hope people are doing something similar. You should talk about the risk of borrowing against your ETH, though. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Yeah, the risk of borrowing against your ETH is obviously, you're exposed to the price risk. Your what do they call it? The health gauge, the little
health gauge, yeah.
Health gauge that could fall, and you risk liquidation. So obviously you just want to keep that above. Well, I personally choose. I choose 3. Keep that above
Can we
there.
get in there?
Yeah, stay safe.
Do you need to clean the window?
They're borrowing.
I'm on a call. Can you come back? Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the next strategy involves is what I call it's fine. Why don't I just kind of like pull up what the interface kind of looks like here? So the way it looks is you would go over to Ricochet Exchange. You would say you would have say like your WETH X balance here. So if you were streaming into ETH DAI WETH, you would have accumulated some WETH X balance. You would take that balance, you would downgrade it to regular WETH. You would go to Aave. You would just go here and deposit it, start earning interest, and then you would obviously go and borrow DAI against it. You go to Polycat Finance. You could search in their vaults or the DAI vault, and yeah, they're offering a 12.4% interest rate there. So basically capture that spread and make your money work for you. So it's a good strategy there. All right.
Classic interest rate arbitrage. You're just borrowing money. You're borrowing DAI on Aave for whatever it was, 4-5%, and then you're depositing on Polycat for 12%. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, the next strategy is more kind of like a trading related strategy. So the scenario here is, let's say it's a bear market and you believe it'll be over soon. So you got some stable coins and you just want to unload them into a crypto asset. Let's say wrap Bitcoin. So what you want to do is you want to find a good entry point. You don't know if wrap Bitcoin is going to fall significantly over the next 30 days. You don't know if it's going to spike. So you want to just kind of find an average entry point. And so the best way to do that is with dollar cost averaging with Ricochet. And basically all you're doing is say you chose to dollar cost average your $10,000 into wrap Bitcoin over the span of a month. Basically your entrance point is going to become the average price of wrap Bitcoin over that month. And that's just from the nature of dollar cost averaging. You're buying more as it raises and less as it falls. And so your net quantity is going to be the same as if you were to find the average price over that period and just do a lump sum investment. So we can do the math to prove that, but that's just really how it works out. And yeah, so just think of the advantages there. It really takes the thought, the thinking out of it, the idea of having to time the markets, and you're just blindly finding that 50% average price. You're just kind of locking it down with the dollar cost average stream, and that reduces risk. You're not being exposed to, the drastic, kind of the tops and pitfalls. It also takes a lot of the emotion out of it. So, dollar cost averaging, it's really the most responsible way to buy an asset over a period like this. You're just simply, mindlessly putting in, fixed amounts of an asset, fixed amounts of purchases over a period on regular intervals. And at the end of the day, during, stressful bear markets like this, it really kind of, helps you sleep easy. So that's an advantage here. And also, it's worth pointing out that, crypto assets are volatile. And so when you're trying to dollar cost average, when you do it on like a daily or even weekly or even monthly basis, you're going to, be exposing yourself to a lot more price risk by, having those lump intervals. When you do it with Ricochet dollar cost averaging, we do it by the hour. And so what you're able to do is capture like a true average price over the period over which you dollar cost average, because of how consistent your investments are. So that's what we call span buying. And yeah, it could also work on the flip side. So say it's in a bull market and you believe it will be over soon, you could also do the same thing in dollar cost average out and achieve like an average exit point. So works both ways. It's a powerful strategy, and Ricochet really amplifies that.
Yeah, I want to add that the span buying, I like that term, span buying. This is what we want to have the exchange used for. Like the idea that you'll set a perpetual dollar cost average is a very small use case right now. There's a couple people that are getting their salary streamed. So for them, it makes sense to carve off 10% of their salary and just stream in perpetuity. But for most people, they're going to want to unload in a certain duration, right? Like, the way that, funds work is they hold tokens and they have some insider information. They know some insider information. And so they're buying, and then they learn some more insider information, and then they start, or they see what's going on in the market, and then they start selling. But because of the liquidity in these markets, they can't just market sell, right? So they have to, well, they can market sell, but they can't market sell 100% of what they're holding, right? Because if they did, they'd eat such bad slippage that it would be dumb, right? It'd be stupid to do that. So instead, what they do is they chunk their orders. So obviously this is useful if you have a large amount, you want to unload it, you want to do it in like 24 hours. So we want to have the app supporting that kind of a trade interface where you can say like, I want to trade 100 ETH over 24 hours, and it'll do its best. The system is going to do its best to cut you off at 100, right? It's all keeper based. So because of the block times, I don't think we'll ever get exactly 100. We'll get you very close, right? So that's the goal, is like get exactly to where we need to be. And again, in a non-custodial way where the funds stay in your wallet until they get spent. So this is, I think, the better type of order. This is, I think, what, funds are going to need. This is a tool that, institutions are going to need to kind of unload things. And yeah, so that's what I would add about the span buying, is we definitely want to have that in the interface. It requires setting up the keeper so that we can actually shut people's streams off, but we're doing that now, right? We're doing that right now. So there's nothing stopping us from doing it based on this kind of span buying or span order or something. So, but let's be careful we don't say what the Uniswap name is. I don't know what their order type is, because they'll come after us. Isn't it called a span order? Isn't that what they introduced, right? Or is it a something else? There's a new order type. Range. Oh, it's range order, actually. Yeah, range order. So Uniswap comes up with range order. I guess we'll use the term span buying or spanning order, span order. Anyway, back to you.
Cool. All right. Yeah, the last thing to talk about is just our roadmap. Yeah, so we can just hit on the big points here. The first, obviously, is to redeploy our markets.
Done.
I believe Mike's already checked that box off. So
check that box.
Go to app.ricochet exchange, and the new markets will be there. You can start streaming your USDC in, and start stacking the sats with wrap Bitcoin, actually. So yeah, good stuff. Next thing is governance. So with new markets, we'll eventually I believe this Friday, Mike, is that the plan to relaunch?
Well, let's wait. until we see that we can get the oh, you're talking about RIC subsidies is your bundling and governance. Yeah, so we'll do an announcement today, but Friday. Actually, really, I was thinking about what happened last time, and we started on Friday, and then you and I both teach Saturday morning. So Sonny and I teach at University of Pennsylvania every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock. So it's a long, so that is why our response was really slow, because we are in between 15-minute activities with our students. But so I'm thinking we should do Thursday at 5 o'clock. Thursday and Friday, I have nothing going on. So if we want, it's basically like my weekend. So if we do it Thursday at 5 o'clock, I can watch it all day Friday, make sure nothing's going awry. Nothing's going to go, well, nothing should go awry this time.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I think we should say Thursday at 5. Give everyone just 24 hours plus, let's make an announcement at noon. So everyone will have closer to 30 hours to get themselves set up. And then we'll do this. We'll start the subsidy up Thursday at 5 o'clock. That way, we're not going to be in class on Friday morning and not be able to help people out, right? So beyond just like making sure there's no problems, which I think I'm very confident. I was confident. I was just as confident last time, but it's just helping people with support, because beyond just people having, questions about, beyond the system breaking and us needing to be there, when we do the RIC subsidy, there's going to be a lot of people that show up and they're going to need support. So I think doing it on Thursday at 5 o'clock is going to be better. We'll be available all day Thursday night, I'll be available all day Thursday night, maybe. And then I'll be all available Friday all day to help people, be able to help people out. So. So that's that. I'm glad you said governance. I thought you were talking about the other thing we'll do with governance is once we know how much everyone's going to get reimbursed, we will put that and we'll vote on that. It's mostly a symbolic vote, but I think it warrants a vote because we're going to use funds in the treasury, the Ricochet treasury, to reimburse people. And I think it's just a good practice. Anytime we want to do anything with those funds, we should be putting it to a vote with the token holders, the RIC holders. That's just how the DAO, that's governance, right? We said it's a valueless governance token. That's it. So we'll start using that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So once we have that, there's kind of like liquidity mine rewards, people kind of get their hands on more RIC token, their governance will kind of kick off. And the first piece of that, like Mike said, is going to be agreeing on the reimbursement list.
And maybe we'll do some, and then maybe we'll make a proposal to vote to reward those people who are voting, right? Like a retroactive voting airdrop, right? Once it's been distributed and we have governance, it's fair game for anyone who has over 10,000 RIC to make a proposal. So if you want to make a proposal that we should give you some RIC, you could try. You could do that if you want. Obviously, I don't think that's going to get any traction, but so most of what we'll do with that is just vote to add new markets and how much we want to subsidize them with RIC tokens when we do add them, kind of like a launchpad. This gets us into the next item.
Yep, the next item is a Ricochet launchpad. It's kind of like a dynamic ICO process. Mike's been working on it. Mike, why don't you speak about it?
Yeah, basically, it's kind of a fair launchpad using superfluid streaming. I don't know if people saw there was like the NFT auction. So there is like kind of an auction with streaming. There's precedence for that. What we're going to be doing is like the projects that want to use the launchpad, if they have their token, they can use the launchpad. They'll be able to set up a initial token offering via the launchpad contract, and they'll specify what is the token they're going to offer, how much, they're going to specify how long the distribution period is. Like if they're going to do it over a month, over a week, over a year, it can even be done over a year or longer. And then they're also going to specify a rate, how fast should tokens come out. That rate is specified in tokens per second, right? So based on those parameters, it's kind of a faucet. So as long as people are streaming into it, it will periodically be distributing back the tokens that are being launched. And so people can, but it'll be at a fixed rate. So there's no way that anybody can come in and like front run. If you want it, it's a completely fair, financially speaking, a fair way to get it, right? You just, however much you decide stream, that's how much you get, right? There's no advantage if you have a lot of money, you can't get in any kind of, well, if they do if the token does a private sale, that's fine. We may not, from a governance perspective, we may not want to launch projects that have done private sales or large private sales. I fundamentally disagree with that. But so anyway, the Launchpad gives us a new kind of price discovery mechanism, and it gives projects a way to more fairly launch, right? The other thing I would add is if you compare what happens in this kind of launch to a like a liquidity pool launch, there is no front running in our Launchpad. There is no minor extractable value. There's none of that. So the value from the token and the value created during price discovery goes directly to the buyers. There's no way that anybody gets in the middle there to try to extract any value or play games with the price of the pool. None of that, right? So the Launchpad here is probably going to be your best bet to launch a token, right? This mechanism is probably going to be your best bet, except for the fact that it's only on Polygon. But hey, I think there's going to be lots of projects on Polygon, and there's nothing stopping us from doing XDAI, nothing stopping us from doing this on other chains. We just have to keep up with Superfluid and make sure that we get on all those other chains that we can get on. So yeah, that's the Launchpad. And the V2 is code complete. I just think from like a work reward ratio, the reward that we're going to generate from the DAO by starting a Launchpad and doing this kind of easy way to launch a token via this streaming auction, that is going to deliver a lot more value than doing internal swaps. There's just such a small, it's mostly it's a talking point. This internal swaps, which is Ricochet V2 here, like stream to stream, being able to swap, I would call it maybe internal settlement. There's such a marginal advantage, which is this small fee reduction because we don't use Sushi Swap as much. But it's a lot, and then of course it's a good talking point saying that, yeah, we're handling liquidity settlements internally in the contract. But the Launchpad, I mean, immediately we can launch Ricochet on it, use it as a way to do Ricochet distributions, and other projects we can start launching on there too. So I think from a value perspective, the Launchpad takes priority over this internal stream. And at this point, both are in the same state. They're both code complete. They just need to be tested thoroughly. So it's not like one is closer to being done than the other. So anyway, that's why we have Ricochet Launchpad number 3 and then Ricochet V2 number 4. So
awesome. Yeah, and also shout out to Fran from Superfluid to kind of introducing ourselves to the Launchpad idea.
Yeah.
Great. So that's the list. And then finally, for overarching things that are happening, we're constantly chipping away at the UI UX and improving that, working with some people from Upwork to keep on improving. And we did get in contact with Polygon to kind of promote our outreach in the Polygon DeFi kind of ecosystem. So we're going to be kind of, building that up over the next couple of weeks. And so, yeah, we're really happy with where we're at and where we're going. And can't wait to see what future holds.
Yep.
So that is community call number 2. Thank you for everyone who attended, and the recording will be up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and if you watch the recording this long, you should come live next time. Be here live.
For sure.
If you can. It's just us in here now. We lost our 2 guests.
All right. Thanks, everyone.